right, welcome to another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and down below or somewhere on the screen is my carnivore co-host, Brian Damaged Forsythe of Kix and the band Rhino Bucket. And we are honored to have a special guest coming all the way to us from Oregon on the other side of the coast. This is Carrie Husband. So welcome to the show, Carrie.
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
Awesome. Now, I'm going to sit there, and Carrie's a trooper, so I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this with you all. But Carrie's somebody who is like Peggy and I and Brian, just never comes down with any illness. And if you live a life, that's what happens. You illness is something that you just won't be a part of. Unfortunately, 2 days ago, Carrie came under attack of something, and so she's been battling something. And the trooper that she is, she did her normal protocol, and now she's on the West Coast, so she's 3 hours earlier than we are. So as we record this show on Wednesday mornings, she's up really early, but she got up even earlier, or maybe she didn't, to do her protocol, just so she could give herself the best chance of getting through this recording, so she can share the information she has. So Carrie, we're thankful for that. And
well, thank you.
And share everybody your protocol, if you don't mind.
Well, when I start feeling blue and under the weather, which is very rare because I don't eat sugar, which keeps my hello, what am I saying? It keeps my, see, I'm telling you, I got brain fog. That's why you can tell I'm not 100%. My immune system, there we go. I had to pull that one out. The sugar, as we know, it suppresses your immune system, 1 teaspoon for up to 4 hours. So this was really shocking that it happened. I don't know how it happened. But when I start feeling a little down in the body, because your body tells you right away, I start immediately boosting the vitamin C. That is a must. I boost up the vitamin D. I make sure that I'm taking zinc. I take essential oils internally, the ones that are pharmaceutical kind of grade, the thieves oil, oregano oil. I just start pumping myself full of that. I bring in echinacea. I mean, just about anything natural that I can to supplement in what I need to boost my immune system so that what my body already does naturally has a much stronger fighting chance. And I do that regularly. I also take some things that will help with the mucus, some homeopathic remedies, all the stuff that I feel like we should be doing that was kind of taken away by the medical community and that we have now. And all of these things really work. And so I started that really early this morning so that I could be here today. And I'm not quite in the super shape that I normally am, but I am feeling a lot better, and I'm not clearing my throat every 30 seconds. So that's a really good thing.
It's all positives, all positives. Yeah. We'll just build on the positives. So now you and your husband, are you guys originally from Oregon?
He's Canadian, so okay. He's originally from up north, and I was born in Casper, Wyoming, but I didn't stay there long. I was only there for the first 4 years of my life, but pretty much I have not left the state of Oregon since I moved here in 1978. So I am about as true Oregonian as you can get. I've been all over the state, but just not out of the border.
So Casper, Wyoming, that's weird. My mother-in-law was from Casper, Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you guys share that birthplace. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit how long you've been keto carnivore, or keto, I believe, and what led you to get to be keto?
Okay. I've been doing it for quite a while. I've been doing it for about 6 years now, and I cycled through keto and carnivore. I've kind of gone back and forth because I want to fine tune what it is my body needs. Because as I've seen, and in talking to a lot of people that you do utilize the keto diet and carnivore, it really is how your body responds, because we're not all alike. Right. So my introduction to keto is I used to be my husband and I used to have a physical fitness class where we taught boot camp. And I'll give you a little bit of background of why keto happened for me. So I was teaching people to have 6 small meals a day. Okay, right? And to watch the caloric intake, and by staggering the calories through the week, you would never get into that homeostasis point that would sabotage your weight loss efforts. Well, unfortunately, what was I doing? I was making people insulin resistant. Imagine that, including myself. And so what ended up happening is that I developed hypoglycemia. Really, it was bad. It was terrible, to the point where if I didn't eat and if I missed meals, I mean, it was cranky, grouchy, get out of the way. I was a not fun person to be around, and I'd snap your head off. I mean, I was just not nice. And so my husband used to joke and say, "Did you pack your lunch today?" Meaning that I prepared to bring food with me so that I wouldn't get caught in a place where my blood sugars started getting too low. And then what happened, because it was causing stress in my body, it flared up my asthma. So I was developing hypoglycemia. Now, I was skinny. I was really thin, and I thought I looked fantastic. But all the other stuff that I was doing and damaging my body by becoming hypoglycemic, by developing insulin resistance, I was a disaster waiting to happen. I was already on my way to becoming type 2 diabetic. And for people to realize this, type 2 diabetes doesn't just happen because of obesity. You can do exactly what I was doing and make yourself insulin resistant and be a very, very thin person because you're eating these little small meals all day. You're spiking the insulin. And of course, if you're bringing the carbohydrates in it, the simple carbohydrates, you're really setting a ticking time bomb off. So what happened is my asthma got really bad, and I was having difficulty functioning in the athletic arena that I was in with my breathing. And so I went, I need to go onto a strict anti-inflammatory diet. And so I did. I mean, it was hardcore strict. It was no grains, no legumes, no nightshades, no dairy, you name it. Well, what ended up happening? I put myself into keto, and I didn't know it, because all those simple carbohydrates, they were out of my diet, because a lot of them are inflammatory makers. I mean, they wreak havoc on the body. And so I ended up losing half of my hair.
Oh.
I was going through keto flu symptoms, not knowing what it was, feeling like absolute garbage, totally depressed because my diet that I had once known, everything that used to be fun was completely obliterated. And I'm left with greens and meat. Like, that's it, greens and meat. And I'm like, okay. And so I went through this morning process. I went through keto flu. I lost half my hair, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I had to start doing some research. Now, mind you, when I was teaching fitness class and this keto diet came out, I just thought it was a fad. And I thought, it'll pass. It'll pass. This is just one of those other things. I know what I'm doing. I got it dialed in. Look at me. I'm skinny. I'm fit. I know how to lose weight, and I can teach you to do the same thing. Yep. But you're going to get sick in the long run. So when I discovered keto, I found out that what had happened to me was that because I wasn't holding any of the, I wasn't holding water as much, right? Because carbohydrates, water was just passing through me more freely, and I wasn't holding it. I wasn't retaining it. So I was being flushed of all of these trace minerals and electrolytes. And because I had such a huge imbalance, I lost half my hair. And for a woman, that is tragic. I mean, well, men and women, hair loss, it doesn't matter. It's just there's something about us and our ego where we're attached to what's on top of our head. And so I began this journey to research and figure out what had happened. And then I realized it was keto. But there was something fantastic that I discovered after I got the electrolytes balanced and stopped feeling like crud. All of a sudden, I realized I had a ton of energy. And I was like, where did this come from? Suddenly, I didn't require 10 hours of sleep. I could get by with 6. So I just got 4 more hours added to my day and extra energy by changing my diet into a keto diet. And then that's when I realized, oh my God, I had been doing things wrong for so long. And in a way, it really crushed my heart. I was like, oh, I wish I could call all the students I had and tell them I'm sorry and check in on them. How's your blood sugars levels? Let me tell you about keto. We need to fix what I taught you. Purge it all, dump it all. Let's go into keto so that you can get your body operating optimally. But really, the way I look at it now, I don't approach it from weight loss anymore. Because for me, I think that's the wrong reason for keto. I think it's about getting healthy first. Weight loss is the end result. It's like a cherry on top of this beautiful sundae of a way of eating and changing your life and getting it healthy so it can optimally run. But if you're going for weight loss until you get that blood sugar, until you get your insulin resistance under control, it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain it. And you have to reset. You got to reset hormones. You got to balance all of it. And so when I stopped looking at it weight loss, because now I'm getting into the feminine side of menopause and whatnot, so things are changing, and I'm having to restructure and kind of do a little bit of carb cycling instead of just strict keto. I didn't want to sabotage myself about making it about weight loss. But what I did see something, and what I wanted to share with you, and if we go into there, great, you can ask me questions because I've been talking a lot so far. I noticed how much it impacted my spirituality. And that was probably one of the most surprising elements that I had seen, because I had, prior, when I was teaching my class, I noticed that when we're disciplined in our body, it automatically is connected to the other parts of our trinity that are made up of who we are. And once the body gets in a line, and once the body is healthy and it's purged and it's detoxed, something happens with the spiritual aspect of it, where you become more awakened. You're more aware. There's like this spiritual gravity that begins drawing you, where when everything was plugged up and not working right, and there was too many chemicals coming into the body, you just couldn't hear, you couldn't see. Everything was sluggish by design. And so therefore, spiritual gravity wasn't pulling you into a relationship that I never thought was possible. And it opened doors like I couldn't believe. And I think that is honestly one of the reasons why Ken and I were drawn into the Hebrew and the Aramaic languages. I believe it was a key to help unlock a door to allow us to venture in. So on some of the esoteric sides, or if you want to call it occult practices, and I know that can throw really people off when I say this, but some of these hidden teachings have been hidden from us because a lot of us haven't been ready for them. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them evil. It means that if you are not ready for some of these deeper spiritual teachings, you are going to use and abuse them, A, or B, you are never going to see them to begin with. And so when people would get into an initiation process, the very first thing they would do is get the temple in order. They would bring in dietary changes, they would bring in detoxing, and they would bring in exercise. And that was the very first step. And now I know why. I experienced it firsthand.
Are you familiar with Wim Hof, Carrie?
Yes, I am.
I was just watching a documentary that he had put out. I watched it yesterday while I was doing Wim Hof. And it was interesting that he took us back to the first place that he started his cold water therapy. And he said, as soon as he did that, he said, you know, people, you can talk about spirituality, you can talk about the Bible, you can talk about God, you can talk about all kinds of stuff. He says, you can talk about it all day. But what I realized when I totally became unattached, just me submerged in that cold water, all of a sudden I was turning inward, and I was being that which I've read about. So he said that's where he started to be, as opposed to just reading about how to be.
Exactly.
And so he realized that was a key, that there was something there, and he didn't know why, but he just knew there was something there, that him experiencing that opened up abundance.
Exactly.
And little did he know, now he's going back to that place that he's been doing it for 40 years, every day, 40 years, getting up and doing that same routine. And now he says, you know, back when I was doing it, everybody thought I was crazy, but now everybody knows who I am. And everybody, you know, there's tons of Wim Hof maniacs out there doing the cold water therapy. I'm one of them. I don't know if Brian's still doing it or not, but you do the shower one of it, right, Brian? Are you still trying that?
Occasionally.
Okay.
I'm right with you, Brian. I'm right with you. I'm sitting here going, don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Yeah, the shower is probably harder than if I was just jump into a tank full of water, but yeah.
I would agree. I think, the cold shower,
well,
go ahead, Carrie.
Well, I was going to say, you described what Wim Hof was saying is you actually described his beginning journeys in the path of mysticism.
Yes.
Because mysticism is divine experiential knowledge, and experiential. So, you know, going from the talking about it to actually experiencing it, where you then are changed. and you come out of the other side of the experience as being a new creation from that momentary exchange.
And that's why once you have that experience, that's why no one out trying to tell you how to live your life is going to get you to change your mind, because you know, you have experienced, you have become the I am of what they're trying to find. You've already found it. And so it's odd in this world that we live in. People are constantly trying to get you to try their thought form, trying to try their religion or their exercise or their diet program. And the reality of it is, and Brian and I say this all the time, we just go out there and let your life live, speak for itself. And then, like Brian's life especially, people go, how do you do that? I've been following you for years. How do you keep eating the steak and look so healthy at your age and have the energy to perform like you do? And it gives an opening for Brian to be able to share what he does. And very much like you, Carrie, Brian from the very beginning said he did not get into the Keto Carnivore Lifestyle because of losing weight. Brian's never been overweight. So it is more strictly for the health benefit of living a lifestyle, to put your body in the best possible position you can put it in, where there's a whole bunch of other benefits that you've kind of touched on this morning in regards to living that lifestyle. But Brian had a very similar experience. I'll let him elaborate on it if he wants to, but that's how he got involved.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my journey actually started over 20 years ago when I got sober. And that was my journey into just healthy, because I was toxic. I was toxic back in the 90s. But that's how it started. And once I, got rid of the drugs and the alcohol and started like the spiritual quest, then I realized all these other things were out of place in my life.
So Carrie, does you and your husband still do like the boot camp?
No, we do not. In fact, it was interesting how that whole season came to an end. It was like, we felt like spiritually that we were being tested to see where we were at, because we were still in the world. We were operating in a very secular environment, and we were bringing in spiritual concepts without using the language. Because we didn't want to approach it that way, because unfortunately a lot of certain key words are triggers for people. So we were like, how can we bring this into this model? And we felt like there was a season where it was actually closed to us, and we knew it was done, and we had to go through a grieving process of it, because there was something that was discovered within us while we were going through it. And all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, this is now, the door is closing. So what is being open for us? And what opened for us was the sacred languages of Hebrew and Aramaic. And we had to step off the platform, because the Spirit was, because we were teaching about the I am principle. We were teaching about, before we even knew what we were saying, we were using I am statements as declarations, but not understanding the divinity that we have within us. And so we were talking about who we are as a people, but we really didn't understand who we were. So it was kind of one of those things that the Spirit said, okay, you've been tested. I can see that you have a love for the people. That is great. But now you know in identity who you are. And so I'm closing this door and I'm opening another one for you, meaning my husband and I, for us to be able to discover our true identity of who we are. And we were drawn where we were, the Spirit led us to this small little town. We came from Central Oregon, Bend, which has 150,000 people. Conveniences everywhere, beautiful mountains, rivers, streams, hiking, biking, trekking, you name it, you can do it. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, it's the place to be. But there's distractions everywhere. I mean, everything's convenient. Maybe not so much when the COVID pandemic hit, but nonetheless, there's lots of distractions. So we were literally pulled into the wilderness, into the small little town, and the languages were brought to us. And that is like a supernatural experience that is hard for me. It's not hard for me to explain. I think it's harder for people to comprehend that unless they've had their own supernatural experiences. But the languages were given to us, and we started with Hebrew, and then we went into Aramaic, and then we began seeing that much deeper in terms of identity restoration. There was a much deeper call that was going forward than just the platform that we were with on our physical fitness. We had been brought into an area prior where we were working with a group called Crisis Response International, and we were their physical fitness component, and we were traveling all over the United States. We were going to be going abroad into Ireland and all these other things. And then when the Spirit shut the door. And so we really didn't know what we were going to do until the languages showed up, and we began our journey on the inside. We began going in and seeking the kingdom within and really comprehending what that was about. And so this journey with getting our bodies healthy, getting them lined up, cleaning out the temple, made space and made room so that we could have the languages begin to fill us and change us and transform us from the inside out. So like my testimony personally is prior to going to this. So physically, my temple was a mess. Okay. I shared with that at the beginning where my temple was, but I had other issues too. I had gone through some massive B vitamin crashes due to having bad diet, having a lot of fear because I had been down the rabbit holes of conspiracy theory. And so I was afraid that everything was coming to get me. I was living in massive fear. And that's part of the reason why I was exercising so frantically, is because I needed to make sure that I was healthy, that I could escape if I needed to. Well, I got myself sick. Bottom line is, and I'm going to fast forward to the testimony. So not only did the temple get cleaned, I found out in my process, I had a complete meltdown. I found out I had CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I also found out that I had multiple personalities. And these were things that I had been running around with masks on for my entire life. So getting things in order, getting my diet in order, getting my temple clean, getting into the sacred languages of Hebrew and Aramaic and going on the inside, I can say, as I'm talking to you today, that I am healed, I am whole, I am integrated, I am of sound mind and of one heart.
That's beautiful.
So it all works together. It all works together.
Once you break free from the fear, guilt, and control matrix, you truly understand what true freedom is all about. And
absolutely,
people can tell you about it. But they tell you from a place where they're not free. They're behind bars if they're letting their fear control their life. And the majority of people who I encounter on a daily basis operate from that place. And so it's tragic for me when you try to help them, because they're coming from a place of they're caring about you. They want to help you, but they're operating from a place of fear, guilt, and control. And because you broke free from that, they can't even fathom the idea of what you're talking about. So you just have to let them be.
Yes.
And to say, hey, I thank you for trying to help, but I'm good, which sounds a little bit arrogant, but it's not. It's just a place that where you are, who you are, and you're not going to go back behind bars just to make the inmates happy. So that's the simplest way I can put it, I guess.
No, I think that's perfect. Once you're healed on the inside, when you heal those wounds from childhood traumas and whatnot, you're not in that knee-jerk reaction of fear all the time. And then what ends up happening is you begin to trust again. And that's a huge concept. And trust again. I know that for me, my life totally changed once that happened. And I'm not saying that I'm completely 100% healed yet. What I'm saying is that I am in a process of healing and restoration. But where I am today in my now moment is much more free and liberated than I was in my yester moment.
Well, it's always a process. We're always processing and moving forward. So
exactly.
Brian loves that word because I know it's in his mantra as well, right, Brian?
Life is a process.
Yes, it is. That's beautiful. It's a good what do we say? Good mantra.
Yeah.
Life is a process.
Yeah, and you have to trust that process. And it's funny, you triggered something just now. It wasn't until I guess 4 years ago, whatever, that I started to get drawn to the Aramaic language as well. So became friends with Dale Hoffman. My brother Steve Conover, so I know you guys have had some great interaction. But, you know, Steve and I talk on a daily basis. And so it's really interesting that it started to lead. My spirit started to be led to learn not only about food, but how I was drawn to the Aramaic language, and how the Aramaic language made so much sense to me in regards to where things went haywire, and the history of humans, and religion,
Exactly.
and all that. And so, you know, as Steve says, you know, they took an Aramaic love story and turned it into a Greek tragedy, which is exactly the most beautiful way to put it. That's exactly what took place. And unfortunately, all those, I don't know where we came along, where people started to empower people outside of themselves, but I love your story. I love people who realize you have the power to do everything. It's like Wizard of Oz. You know, everything's at home, everything's in you. And so just know that everything you need to do this life with, you already possess. The problem is we have been taught to give our power away. We give it away to doctors. We give it away to pastors. We give it away to the government. And then we start to get mad when the right person in government's not our president or congressman or senator, or if we can't get a hold of our doctor, or we're made to feel guilty if we don't show up in this building on Sunday. So all of these thought forms become really jails, and prevent us from knowing who we are. I love your story, because you and your husband, you know, started to encounter the results of living the lifestyle that you were living, and you went deep to and started to experiencing your own journey, which led you to freedom, which has led you to other worlds. And now you're just loving life. You know, you're exploring what you came here to explore and to experience, and you see the light coming from you. So it's just, it's beautiful to see.
Thank you.
So
thank you. It's been an amazing journey. It truly is. You know, there's people that have known me for years. And in fact, a girlfriend from high school just reached out to me, and she reached out to me because she saw such a huge difference from where I was back in a traumatized state to where I'm out now today, you know, like 30 years later. And it really intrigued her. And so she wanted to know more about the journey, because, you know, she and I would stay in touch off and on over 30 years and had lost touch for a while. And then she saw us on Facebook, some of the videos, our YouTube channel, and she saw a transformed life, and she was so drawn to it. Like, what did you do? What changed? Because who I see sitting before me today is not the same person that I saw the last time. And I'm like, well, this is what happens when you go on the journey on the inside, you know? And there's so much within the sacred languages that help us understand just things that were obfuscated intentionally by the Roman Church in wanting to take some of these things away from us so that we wouldn't be able to rise up into our sovereignty, so that we would always be in the place of subjugation instead of realizing who we truly are. Again, identity restoration, right? Ken and I were teaching about it, but we really didn't know what it was. And it was the sacred languages that really propelled us to the knowing aspect of it, not just reading about it, but divine experiential knowledge of that which we speak, because of a transformed life that becomes a testimony externally from the internal work that's been done. And so I actually wanted to share a word with you, maybe a couple, but I'm not going to go into a big long breakdown, because your audience probably is not in that place where they'll be going, whoa, that was too much. That was too much meat. That was way too much spiritual meat. I'm used to eating my steaks, but this spiritual meat, this is something different. There's a word, Hebrew word. I have two. I've got Hebrew and Aramaic. So Hebrew is very masculine in nature, and Aramaic is very feminine in nature. And when you know the work of Yeshua, you can see why the New Testament was written in Aramaic, bringing a divine feminine energy into a very strong, dominant, masculine energy with the patriarchy that we're connected to. There's a Hebrew word, akal, and akal means to eat, and it means food, but it means to eat, and it's spelled Aleph Kaf Lamed. And so when you break it apart, Kaf Lamed means all and whole. Aleph means one. So when you take at the word that means to eat, food, when you look at the letters, this is unlike what English it doesn't do for us. Aleph Kaf Lamed means with your food, you are one with all of it. So you wonder where they say you are what you eat? Well, based on the Hebrew word that means to eat, it is letting you know that you are what you eat. You are one with the food. And that can either bring wholeness to you or illness to you. Because the cough is like it's a form of like taming and yoking yourself. It's like it's a cup that's needing to be filled. It's waiting to be filled. And then the lamed is instruction. It's instruction. It's teaching. It's nurturing. It's goading, urging those who learn and teach. So the word for food and to eat is that there is something about the food that you're eating that can either make you whole or not, and it's going to fill you up. It's going to fill your cup up with instruction of some sort. So that's why it's so important for us to watch and make sure that what we are putting in, knowing that we're going to want it, do we want to become one with a big bowl of greens and salad, or do you want to become one with a bag of potato chips?
Exactly.
One is full of life force energy. The other has been cooked to death. So do you want life force energy or do you want death energy in you? Now, and I'm sure some people might go, well, wait a minute. You're talking about eating meat. That's already dead. Okay, people, we live in a reversed, inverted reality, and everything is consuming based. Everything is consuming based. Because there was a study that they did on plants to see that plants are living. In fact, and I was trying to look it up this morning, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I was a little frustrated because I wanted to give the scientific evidence so that people aren't just saying, oh, she pulled that out of the air. But they did it, and I don't know if you guys know this, and so stop me if you don't, or I can share it because I think the audience needs to hear this too, because I've had people judge me by eating meat and saying that I am not maturing or ascending or anything if I eat meat in my diet. Well, plants, they did a study where there was a man that did a study, and he had two plants that were side by side. And it was either through Carillion photography. I'm not sure how they did it exactly because I heard this study, this was a long time ago, and I'm fuzzy on the details. But what I heard was this, and this is what I've stuck with, and this is why it's important for us to understand and not judge heavily the food that we're putting into and why we need to give thanks and bless it, okay? This is not a religious act. This is the frequency of that which we are putting in because we are creators and we're speaking life into it by giving it gratitude and partnering with it so it can do what it needs to make us healthy. So we have these two plants. The guy comes in the room with a machete. Now he hacks one plant to pieces, just chops it up completely in pieces. He leaves the room. He comes back in the room, and the plant that witnessed the other one getting cut up into pieces and hacked by the machete had a negative reaction to the man when he came back into the room. It was documented, it was photographed. So that which we are eating is all living. And I just wanted to clarify that because for people to judge one another and continue to separate us and judge us on our food, plants are living entities as well. Everything has a sacrifice for us to continue our life force energy. And this is why, like even with the Native Americans, when they would take life of a living entity or a living being, they always gave thanks about it. And they did it in the most humane sense. And they were thanking it for the transference of energy and that this was a beautiful exchange in honoring a life for a life.
No, couldn't agree with you more.
We need to, okay, so I wanted to clarify that because I've heard this so many times from people when they find out, well, especially when I went carnivore for a season of time, but that was for detoxing. That was for a whole nother reason why I went straight carnivore, to reset some things. And I heard it. I heard it from people in the spiritual community. And so I just wanted to clarify it, that everything that we consume is living at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we say that all the time, and you've said it a couple of times during this show. You know, we don't judge people who are vegetarians or any other lifestyle that you're eating, because that's where they are in the process. That's where they are on the highway. I always tell people life is a highway and everybody's at different mile markers. And so you may be seeing stuff at your exit that I can no longer see because I may vaguely remember it because I passed through that exit. but I'm not seeing it now where you are. You're seeing it now. So I don't judge anybody for where they are. And trust me, when I say this to people, I don't judge anyone. You'll be a lot freer if you didn't judge anyone either, and just realize that they're on, you are where you are and they are where they are. Now, that doesn't mean that because you're at mile marker 85 and I'm still at mile marker 56, that we're still not on the highway of life, because we are. And it doesn't mean that we still can't communicate, because we can. It just means what you're describing is, we have to stay, and I posted about this morning on my Facebook personal profile page, that we have to stay in wonderment. We have to stay in wondering. Wondering is the precursor to understanding one love of all creation, which is what you're talking about. And once we realize that by judging someone or judging something, then we're condemning it. We're also condemning ourselves, because, and I'm not going to get too much further into this, but the reality of it is it doesn't serve a purpose for you. And so to put you in a better position, just free yourself of the judging part. The judging part's gonna just do away with it, and you find yourself that the world that you're operating in is a lot more beautiful. You'll find the world a lot more beautiful when you honor all creation, like the Native Americans. And by the way, I'm actually a Native American. I actually am Cherokee, and my wife's Abenaki. So we are a Native American household here, and their language is very much the same purity as the Aramaic language was, in regards to creator, life, and honor. It's too bad that those stories they passed on from tribe to tribe weren't passed on to the people who are now here in this country, on this land, and somehow we have been given a narrative that wants us to judge and believes we have to destroy. Or, we've created a whole industry, whether it's the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry. Industries have been created over something that never needed to be created, because we had it all along. And bless you.
Excuse me.
So, all right, it's that time of the show where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Shanker of the MeatTribe YouTube channel for those meat deals of the week. So, hey, Brian, how's things going, and what kind of deals do you got for us?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Awesome. All right. So first up, Carnes, Central PA. They've got a deal running through November 15th. They've got some choice grade beef short ribs for $9.99 a pound. I haven't seen beef short ribs on sale anywhere for quite a while. I used to get mine at Giant, so I was happy to see those pop back up. So
you got Brian's attention.
Yeah,
you got Brian's attention. You may have to bring a suitcase with you, Brian, and pick up some short ribs when you're up in the area.
No, they're hard to come by.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Since it's been so long since I bought some, I don't know if $9.99 per pound is a good price, but at least it's out there. Food Lion, they've got a deal running through the 16th of November. They've got some choice grade boneless top round London broils at $3.99 a pound. That's really cheap. I've got 3 deals from Aldi, all running through November 16th. They've got some boneless Simply Nature organic grass-fed chuck roast. That's a mouthful, for $7.99 a pound. They've got some choice grade boneless Black Angus beef bottom round roast for $4.99 a pound, and some choice grade boneless Black Angus sirloin tip roast for $5.49 a pound. And then next up, we've got a couple of deals from Harris Teeter and a couple of deals from Kroger. So the Harris Teeter deals, they also run through the 16th of November. They've got the rancher grade. I know you're going to head over there now, Jim. Bone-in rib roast or ribeye steaks. So it's bone-in ribeyes or rib roast, standing rib roast, $7.99 a pound.
Sold.
for the rancher grade. And they've also got the choice grade, same thing, bone-in standing rib roast or ribeye steaks for $9.99 a pound. So check them both out, see which one has the better marbling, and either save yourself a couple of dollars off of what you're already saving, or spend the extra $2 and get the choice grade.
And when does that deal run out? When does that expire, Brian?
The 16th of November.
Okay.
We hadn't seen ribeyes on sale for quite a while from Harris Teeter. I think it's been, what's the rotation? Like they do the T-bone porterhouse, the New York strip. T-bone porterhouse, New York strip, and then ribeye.
Yep. So I'll be heading over there. I'll be Harris Teeter. Here I come.
And then Brian, for you down at Kroger or anybody else that has Kroger's near them, they've got a couple of deals running through the 16th of November as well. Some boneless top sirloin steaks at $7.99 a pound, and some choice grade boneless sirloin tip roasts for $6.99 a pound. So you know we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so you're gonna see a lot more turkeys and hams on sale than regular meat. But so I had texted you guys. I got one of those Anova sous vide.
Yes.
And so I cooked some chicken breasts the first night. The kids loved them, so I did chicken breasts again the second night. But I'm going to do some the 2 ribeyes that came from the Grill Master set from Aldi. So I thawed those out, and one of them is just shy of an inch thick, and the other one is probably about 3/4 of an inch thick. So since I'm new to this, I'm asking for your advice. I was going to sous vide it at 125 for 45 minutes, and then get my grill up as hot as I can and put it on for about 30 seconds on each side, hoping to hit medium. Does that sound like that's doable, or you think it's going to overcook them?
No, I actually, for me, I'll speak on my behalf. I know Brian will tell you how he does it, but I literally sous vide them for like 4 hours because they're not going to get above that temperature, and it just really helps them break down the tendons and the fat and all that. Mm-hmm. So, and then you just, you sit there, throw them on the grill for 30 seconds on each side just to get the marks and stuff. So that's how I do it, but I'll let Brian share what he does.
I was going to say the same thing. You can leave it in there as long as you want. It'll never go over that temperature.
Right. So do you think 45 minutes is long enough? Because the plan is to eat between 11:30 and 12.
I usually do at least an hour when I do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do at least a couple hours, but I like for it to really break down. Now, I will tell you something else that I do differently. Since I got the Food Saver, I literally will put them in the Food Saver packet with all my spices and butter. So it's just, in that it's sous vide it with that butter and all the contents is in there. So I find that and throw, a twig of a rosemary in there, and then just throw them on the grill for 30 seconds on each side, and then you're ready to devour them. But okay. Let us know how they turn out.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, yeah, I put butter in there too as well.
Okay. I didn't do that this time. I just went with our regular spices, which is basically seasoned salt, McCormick seasoned salt. That's what we typically do. So I was just concerned because they're so thin, only being just under an inch and 3/4 of an inch thick. I know it's not going to go above that temperature, but even hitting it on the grill for 30 seconds, I was just concerned that it might go a tad bit over medium, but we're learning.
Yeah. Well, let's see if our guest, Carrie, do you sous vide your steaks, or no sous vide for you?
I haven't even gotten into the sous vide yet. My parents have, and they have totally it's revolutionized everything. I'm a little behind the curve on that, but I'm also one that does not have a smartphone. I have an old flip phone, so there's something to be said about that.
All right.
Old school.
Simple. Yeah, old school and being simple. Brian's going to go break out another ribeye.
No, I was going to show you. I got these
tomahawks.
The tomahawks for they were on sale for $14.99 a pound, by the way.
Wow.
Where'd you get those, Brian?
At Kroger.
Okay. Jim, you got to tell everybody about your manager special you got.
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that. Actually, I was at Food Line yesterday just to pick up heavy whipping cream, and I always got to scour the meat aisle, and they had put a manager special for 2 ribeyes that had an expiration date for today, half price. So I got 2 ribeyes for, I think it's $12 total, Wow. So in this new $17.99 a pound ribeye world we live in, it was they have 2 ribeyes for $12. I snatched those, and I will be having those as soon as the show ends. But, you know, Brian shows that tomahawk, but he had tomahawk last night. I thought he posted the picture with the blue cheese crumbles on it, and that looked delicious.
Yeah, it was.
Now, do you smoke yours, or do you sous vide the tomahawk, Brian? What do you do?
No, I smoke it.
Okay. Yeah, that looked absolutely delicious. So, are you have another one today?
I have the leftovers from yesterday. I couldn't finish that.
It was what, a 2.5 pounder, the one yesterday?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Carrie, do you and your husband, do you guys ever eat the tomahawk that Brian just pulled out of his refrigerator?
You know, where we live, our choice is very, very limited of what we can choose from. And I have never seen that in the grocery store. So I was quite amazed when he pulled it out of the refrigerator. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of meat.
Yeah, I'll post a picture of it here so everybody can see the dinner that he had yesterday with the blue cheese crumbles on top of it. But it was a big one. It was about the size of that one. So you finished the majority of it.
I can show you what I got left. That's right here as well. Actually, there's a pretty big chunk that's left.
Oh, that's not like you, Brian. You must have. What happened?
You can see the edge of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been as hungry lately for some reason. So I stop before I know that I'm gonna feel horrible if I just keep ramming it in.
That's wise. That's wisdom there.
That is wisdom. So what else you got for us, Brian? Any other deals out there?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right. If people want to find out other deals that come along during the week, how may they find you?
Head on over to my YouTube channel. It's MeatTribe, all one word. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. I typically upload my the weekly update on Fridays. Try to get them out in the morning. Sometimes it doesn't happen until the afternoon. And also on Facebook, MeatTribe on Facebook as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a good week.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. Well, can you take some questions? Brian, you got any questions for Carrie?
Wow, my head is spinning. Let me think. I don't have anything offhand. I mean, you've pretty much explained it. And
it's been beautiful, by the way. I've loved your testimony.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, and the medical community said that I had no hope. They said that I was going to have to live with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I was going to have to learn how to manage it. And then, the same thing with dealing with multiple personalities. It's like, well, you're just going to have to manage that you have these alter egos that are within your vessel. And I refused any of that. I refused it. I'm like, no, that is not the truth of who I am. That's not the truth of who I am at all. And I know that there's a way. I know there's a way. And so, like I said, the healing happened, and I couldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I not gone through my healing journey. And the first thing is, it's got to start with the temple. You've got to clean out the temple so that the light can freely flow through you. And the only way that you can get healed is allow the light to start coming in and doing your shadow work. And so it all has to be finely tuned. And that's why when you were talking about not judging one another, we've got this mirror principle going on. The letter Nun is an incredible letter in Hebrew and Aramaic. It's spelled Nun Vav Nun. So again, like English, an A is an A, a B is a B, C is a C. There's no symbols that make up the A. It's just an A. And they have to string them together to put together a word that then has to be defined, and you have to be told what that word means. In Hebrew and Aramaic, it's not the case. Every letter, every symbol is created by other symbols that come together with energetic signatures to create the singular symbol. So it's a combined effort. It's like a collaborative effort because it's a living language. There's a literal vibratory frequency that they've done through the study of cymatics to show that Hebrew, Aramaic, and Sanskrit affect matter. English is a dead language. So the letter Nun, in its vibratory frequency, is spelled in a collaborative effort, Nun Vav Fallen Nun, Nun Sophit. This is a letter that's a mirror principle. And what it is saying, it's a mirror of one another, because you've got two noons that are opposing each other. One is risen and one is fallen. You are the risen noon. And people might think, well, you're saying because we're in a fallen state. No. Your mind tells you you're in a fallen state. You are not in a fallen state. You have a mirror that is reflecting on the outside of you. And you see everything from a fallen position because you're looking at it through your mind. But this letter is showing us that if you, in your already position of not being fallen, of being a beautiful vessel, connect to your heart, you're going to see the mirror of yourself in that fallen position so that you can correct it and bring it back as a risen state. And that is a mirror through every interaction with every individual and every external narrative that is reflecting areas that you need to do your shadow work in. Now, let me take this a step further. This letter means a seed of life. This letter means, it means perpetuity, perpetual. It means to shoot forth new life. It means to create an heir, H-E-I-R, an heir to the throne. So this mirror of this letter, which is the seed of life and the spark of life, is meant for you to become a perpetual being as an heir to the throne, as a mirror. So when you judge, because even in the English writings, it says, judge not, lest be judged. There is some truth that still bleeds over into English, although 98% of it doesn't. You're only seeing like maybe 2 to 5% of what's really being written, because there's a code within the code that never gets translated into English, ever. It's written in shorthand. But if you do this right, and that judge not, lest ye be judged, as soon as you judge something on the external, it's coming right back at you. That what you're judging is that what you need to deal with your shadow. Always.
Absolutely.
So why are you judging someone by what they eat? Why are you judging them by something that they said or they did or the clothes they wear? Or you got irritated about something and you begin judging them in their actions? Well, it's because it's really about you. The only way that you can see you is with a mirror.
Yep.
Metaphorically and physically.
Absolutely. That's why once you get past through that, once the veil's been lifted, the world that you just got through saying was so bad is not going to be the same bad, beautiful world.
No. And that Vav, noon, Vav, fallen noon, when you reconcile this fallen nature and realize that you're already in that risen state, you shatter the mirror. You shatter it. You never have to go through it again. So whatever shadow you've neutralized and you've rendered clear, it's never going to come back into your field again.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's never going to, because you're not going to attract it.
Right, and that's absolutely where I was going to go. But if you're one of those people, and I was one of those people for a lot of my life, where if you have to wake up and everybody's got to do what you want them to do and everyone's got to act the way you want them to act just so you can have a good day, so Jim can have a good day, then you are going to be lost forever. But once you realize that what you're seeing out there is really something you need to deal with inside here, and you deal with it, the next thing you know, that everything's beautiful. And I correlate it to the fact that I don't need everybody to eat a ribeye steak so I can have a ribeye steak. Guess what? As soon as we stop recording this, I'm going to go in the kitchen and I'm going to have a ribeye steak. I don't need the whole world to eat ribeye steaks for me to feel like it's okay to eat ribeye steak. I'm going to go to eat a ribeye steak, and the rest of the world can eat whatever they want to. And that doesn't matter what you want. You want to eat, sure, go for it. It's your life. Go live it. I just know the path that you're on eventually is going to lead to the same mile markers that I'm at now.
Exactly.
So for me to judge you on it, it's not going to bring you up to speed any quicker. So hey, listen, I was there. I understand what exit marker you're on.
Yeah.
But just also know that where I'm at, you'll be too, or you're not there yet. So don't judge me for where I'm at. So anyway, it comes back to, living your life. Brian wants to eat a tomahawk with blue cheese crumbles on it. It's not going to take away from his experience if everybody starts protesting that he eats a tomahawk with blue cheese crumbles and say that he's going to have a heart attack. He's going to position himself to get sick. All those have absolutely zero bearing on Brian's experience.
No.
I try to lead, like personally, I try to lead my life by attraction rather than promotion, you know? So
Perfect.
if somebody's not asking for help, you can't help them. So
No.
I just do what I do, and then I wait for somebody to go, how'd you do that? Or how does that work? And then I'll share, you know.
Yeah. Well, the second that you step in and you start telling somebody what they should do, you just entered service to self. And so, like you were just describing, Jim, if they eat the way I do, and if everybody's along the same page as me, then I'm going to have a good day. And I'm only going to hang out with people that are just like that. We are supporting our ego, and we're getting it inflated. And then that ego goes around to try to convert everyone to its same mindset so it can feel justified and feel safe. But you just force your own beliefs on people. And that has nothing to do with serving others. And so we have this mindset, or we've had this mindset, and it's changing. It is changing in religious structures that we've needed to go out and evangelize the whole world, because we will have peace once the whole world believes the same way we do. Are you kidding me? That is never going to happen. That is never going to happen. Ever, ever, ever. Change happens within you. You can only affect you. You start forcing your beliefs on someone else, you just went into negative polarity.
Well, yeah, we can all see how that's worked out.
Not so good. Not so good.
Yeah, I posted something this morning that said, concepts create idols. Only wonder comprehends all. People kill one another over idols. Wonder is the precursor of experiencing one love for all creation. I kind of said that earlier.
I love that.
But when you are willing to kill your brother or sister over a thought form that you believe is freeing, then just know that you've put yourself behind bars. You are so totally the opposite of free.
Absolutely.
Because you've given your power away. That's the part that it's hard for people to understand, that you're giving your power away. So you're giving your power away. If Carrie and Brian have to think the way that I got to do in order for Jim to be good, then I've given my power away. I can have a good day regardless of what Carrie and Brian are doing today. And so it's just a total mindset and a gut check with internally. So, but I'm not going to keep you. We're not going to keep you all morning long. You've been gracious to get up and share your experiences with us, and I think people will be blessed by your testimony and from your sharing. And I don't know if Brian has any more questions, but I would truly say it's been an honor to have you on our show, and I thank you for what you've shared with us.
Thank you. And if people want to learn a little bit more, they can come and see our YouTube channel, The Stand 121, and we share much more from the Hebrew and Aramaic perspectives. And it's an honor to have been here today to share a little bit of my healing journey, how much keto has changed my life, and the spiritual aspect of things in becoming one with that which we eat. The only thing that I would love to finish off by saying is just we need to remember to live from the heart and not the head. Live from the place where spirit dwells, not where ego tries to control and manipulate us. And stay in that place of loving awareness at all times.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. You have a great week, and I'll look forward to popping in on your channel every now and then. I do that anyway, but I'll see you around, and tell Ken we said hello.
I will. It was a pleasure meeting you both. Shalom, shalom, namaste.
Namaste. Take care.
You too.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting, and it's always nice to get a different perspective just on life in general and see where she came from. So yeah, it's very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean that could have gone forever. I mean, that whole thing fascinates me, and I can, I just love listening to somebody talk, about that stuff.
Because it's coming from the heart. So when someone's coming from a pure place, I'm with you. I was like, look at the clock. I was like, man, I told her we'd keep it to an hour, especially her not feeling too well. But I could literally have spent the whole day just, discussing her life and the impact that life has on people experiences.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because I can relate to everything she was saying, and, but I don't articulate it as well. Right. It's like, I have trouble explaining it to people if they ask me, but like she explains it so well, and it's just like, oh, okay, you know, that's how you explain that. Okay. But
No, I'm with you. No,
yeah,
I'm with you. I feel like all the time. I mean, I literally, I mean, I talk on this show, but in real life, I'm really to myself. I'm really just really pondering and meditating and working internally. I don't like to tell. I mean, I broke free of that programming of telling people what they need to believe in and what they should be
yeah,
doing, and so it's really hard for me to explain. And I think that's actually intentional. Is that I know my experience, I know my knowing, but it's so much bigger than what words I can use to try to convey what I've experienced that it doesn't do it justice.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
So
I love that whole like the mirror thing, and I mean those are just things that I've come to know just from experience myself. But yeah, you can't really. Everyone is sort of like we were saying. Everybody's got to find their own path and discover their own things along the way. You know,
yeah,
unless they actually come out and ask you how'd you do that, then you can sort of try to explain it. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's it's something that, especially in the United States, we have so many different institutions that are out there battling with one another and and putting you down. And I love what you said earlier, Brian, about you live a life of attraction, not promotion. And unfortunately, the way most of these religions, and I'm not bashing religion, I'm just literally, I'm actually giving you a description of how you guys have conveyed your lives lived to those who observe you all. And the fact that you are what you are, but the question you have to ask yourself is, why do you have to have the world believe the way you believe in order for you to be saved or to be okay? um, that's all I'm saying.
yeah,
um,
it's a little sad how broken things are. I mean, not only that in religion, but you know, the medical community, like everything. It's
yeah,
just so broken.
it's just like two different playbooks. The playbook is to, you got to follow what we do in order for you to be okay. And then you got the playbook of what Carrie was talking about is, if you can start to do the inside work, you'll be okay. And then that passes
Well,
on to you attracting other people like, hey Brian, hey Jim, how'd you do that? I mean, you got so much energy, you do this and you do that, how'd you do that? You seem so happy. What is it that you're doing? And you
yeah,
can just share, I just live my life without judging.
yeah, and it's a shame because this is our society is based on fixing it from the outside. You know, fixing the symptoms and profit. It's all like money and which that's where that comes from,
Right.
fixing it from the outside so you can make money off of it. So it's just yeah, it's completely screwed up.
Yeah, it's that's just what's happening now. Like keto has become a like a hot commodity now. And so the
Yeah.
powers that be have turned it into a money maker, a profit center for them. So you see all these different food products that are not pure or not truly keto that are being marketed as keto because the mass public believes that their answer to their well-being it's outside of themselves. So therefore they're going to seek the powers to be to tell them what they need to consume next. And unfortunately, just like you heard Carrie and her husband, they were doing boot camp and following the 5 to 7 meals they were taught that. But the reality of it is what they experienced was that it did not breed life, it was breeding death. And these diseases that started to come forth from living that lifestyle, the being a diabetic and those other troubling areas in their life, were all because of them following what other people was telling them how they need to live their life. When they started to know internally how they should be living their life, their whole world changed.
Yeah, and it all comes back to yeah, fixing yourself from the inside and educating yourself so that all that other stuff on the outside doesn't influence you.
Yeah, does it? You know, I was reading, I know we've been way over an hour, but I was reading our book that you and I are on. And it was interesting because I know last week our topic matter was talking about, you know, not listening to your mind and being, you know, overcoming your mind, overriding your mind. But in this, on page 121, it actually talked about how your gut has these cells that are also telling your mind, look, find us a reason to justify us wanting that ice cream and cotton candy. And so it's saying, hey, look, we want that sugar stuff. So it reports back to your mind. And the great thing about that book is it says, whether you're fat, skinny, you are an addict. And for people who have alcohol or who are alcoholics or drug addicts, they're probably further along in recognizing addiction than the people who just don't believe that they have an addiction of any type, but live a life obese or with diabetes. Because the reality of it is we are all addicts. And until we start to do the internal work to find out what we're addicted to and how to put in measures to protect us from our addictive personality, you will never overcome. And so it was interesting. Yeah. You know, in that book, I don't know if you got that far, Brian, but it was interesting. She basically said, you'll never break free from alcoholism or drug addiction until you fix your gut and realize that your gut is that was like eye-opening to me. It's like, wow, that's like a huge aha moment. Like, wow, until that happens, you'll go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, coming from a place of recovering drug addict, alcoholic, that's given me insight to because the addicted mind or the addict mind will justify anything to get away with it. And it's so, you know, it's just so, you trick yourself into thinking you're lying to yourself. And it all applies, the same things apply to food or sugar, you know. And luckily, you know, through my recovery, it's easier for me to see myself trying to deceive myself, you know.
Right. Yeah. I you know, it's amazing. Yet 3 different people has been on this show, well, 4, including Brian, the other Brian. But it's interesting to hear the stories told. And I think truly, you know, what Carrie was sharing, how she ended up being on keto was a different journey than you, different journey than me. But I think it all, you know, when you start to truly dive into that lifestyle, all those other doors do open up and you start to experience and you start to know. And just like it's like you said, it's a process, and it's a process that keeps unfolding. And then I go, wow, that makes sense. That makes sense. Somebody else documented it, and that makes a whole lot of sense. But, you know, just like you said, I could never just articulate that in a way that I know. But, you know, I'm glad there's other people who I'm able to encounter that is able to articulate it for me.
Yeah.
So, but with that being said, hey, how was your weekend before we sign off here, Brian? How was your weekend? You went to Vegas, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
How was that?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Vegas, but I had fun. I
saw
went
you
there.
Saw one of your favorite bands, right?
Yeah, and my friend, a friend of mine was turning 50, so he wanted to fly there for his 50th birthday, and Blackberry Smoke was playing, and we're both huge Blackberry Smoke fans. So he offered to fly Shannon and I out there, and I said okay, because I wasn't playing this past weekend, so I went out there, and it was just we just had a nice enjoyable time and went to Blackberry Smoke concert, and it was in like this courtyard, the Virgin Hotel or motel, or hotel. Sorry,
that's okay.
It was this big open courtyard, and they had a stage set up. I guess they have concerts there all the time, but very cool venue. And I got to hang out with the guys after the show, and it was just, oh, and it's so funny too, because we were there, and my friend Sean, his name's Sean, he reached out to Charlie from Blackberry Smoke beforehand, and we already had tickets, but Charlie went ahead and put us on the list and gave us passes and all this stuff. So partway through the concert, I walk around the crowd up to the front. I'm right at the barrier off to the side of the stage there, looking at the stage. And all of a sudden, Charlie spots me and he points at me, and then he starts going da 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 da, like playing the beginning of
Cold
Cold
Blood.
Blood. And it was so funny. We just had that little exchange for a minute, and then he goes into the whatever song they were going to go into. But
Now, did you see your other band? I saw that Rolling Stones was actually in Vegas this weekend as well.
And I didn't know that till I got there, and yeah, it was the venue. I could open my window in my hotel room, and there was the arena or the stadium where they were playing. But the day I was leaving, I had another friend that's in Vegas, and he goes, I know you're gonna hate to hear this, but I actually had 2 tickets to the Stones I could have given you.
That was tough.
Yeah, but whatever.
Well, it wasn't meant to be. That's all.
Yeah.
But well, good. You had a great weekend then. That's awesome. Now, are you guys playing this weekend? Is Kix playing this weekend?
Yeah, we're in Pittsburgh.
All right. And when do you leave for that? Do you leave tomorrow or?
Well, when this airs Friday, I'll be
Friday.
Out. Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a good show. And for those who have made it through to this part of the show, what bit of advice would you give someone, Brian?
Hang on. I need my prop.
All right, get your prop. Oh my gosh.
Eat your meat.
Oh my gosh, that is a big one. How many pounds is that tomahawk?
This one is, it's over 2.5 pounds. It's 2.67 pounds.
Wow, Shannon will have to share that with you.
Maybe. She's not a big ribeye person, but my yesterday was a smaller one.
Well, that looks good. I'm going to be having ribeye as soon as we stop recording. I'm going to be jumping on and having some ribeyes. But for everybody else out there, stay safe, stay well, stay out of that hospital, and we'll see you guys next Friday. Take care, everyone.
See ya.